comments, right?
Mhm. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Whiskey Dictionary. Today, I have a special guest. This is Jenna from the Scotch Malt Whisky Society, and she is here to talk to us all about the Scotch Malt Whisky Society and the uniquely named bottles of scotch that they put out. Some of the best part about it. So, Jenna, if you want to introduce yourself and just say
hi, and thank you so much for having me tonight. This is a good way to kind of kickstart the weekend. So, my name's Jenna Elie, and I am the West Coast representative, ambassador, educator for the Scotch Malt Whisky Society of America.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Nice. So now this is something I ran across because there's two separate websites, just in case anybody's looking for this. So if people are in America, they should be going to, it's
www.smwsaforamerica.com.
Okay.
All right. If you do smws.com, that'll take you to the UK site.
So that makes sense because my login didn't work over there, and I was like, I know I have a lot, so that makes sense. I also will have all of these links in the description if anybody's curious. So Jenna and I connected a few weeks back, and actually it was a little while back. Now I'm thinking about it, and she had said that she wanted to send me a bottle of one of the single malts that they do to try out and just kind of see what the Scotch Malt Whisky Society was all about. So, I begrudgingly agreed to get a free bottle of whiskey in the mail. And but we did talk on the phone a little bit, and you had asked me some questions about what types of whiskey I like. And I'm actually I'm going to continue that story in a minute, but I'm actually, as I'm saying this, I'm realizing I'm curious what kind of whiskeys you like, because I think that's gonna set the stage for some of our viewers here.
Okay, well, I've been doing whiskey. I've been in whiskey, pretty much full time, going on almost 4 years. So actually, next week will be my 4-year anniversary in the world of whiskey. And so, when I kind of started out, the whiskey that got me into whiskey was actually Macallan 18. And I tasted it, and I wasn't a whiskey drinker, and I tasted it, and I was like, what is this? This is like, I've never tasted anything like this. And so I was just curious about whiskey. And so I just kind of dove in head first, and here I am, 4 years later, just in the thick of it. So if I had to pick, I guess, a type of whiskey that I normally kind of gravitate towards, I love peat. I'm a peat head. I know Steve just mentioned that I'm a peat head, and yes, I am. I'm all about it. I love Islay whiskeys, and I love young Islay whiskeys. I think there's so much character,
interesting,
and just funk, and just I'm a big fan of those. But I'm also a big fan of cask strength whiskey. I love getting a whiskey in its purest form. I want it straight from the barrel. If I could put a straw in a barrel like that, I would do that all day. That's my jam. And so that's why it's been, a pleasure and a treat to be a part of the society, is because I have access to these whiskeys, and I get to talk about them, and they're whiskeys that I do genuinely love. And so, but yeah, I love all kinds of whiskeys. I have bourbons that I love. I have, Japanese whiskeys that I love, and, whiskeys from all over Scotland, anything from, Islay to Campbelltown to the high. Really, it's like picking a favorite child. It's hard to just kind of dial in and pick a favorite. So
I have to say, there was a reason I asked you that, and it was because I obviously get asked that question, fairly often too, and I have pretty much the same kind of, I have no idea how to answer this question reaction. There's something I usually end up picking, but I would say it actually tends to vary per day. Now, the one question I often get is, do you like bourbon or do you like Scotch more? And I always am just like, how do you pick between the two? Like, they're very different,
They are very, very different. I'm a Scotch head at heart. That's where I started, and that's kind of my true love in the world of whiskey. But over the past probably 2 years, I've really gotten into some really great bourbons, and ironically, a lot of the ones I gravitate towards aren't from Kentucky. But there's some amazing bourbons out there. So
for sure. Yeah, I love just the craft boom that's happening in the US at the moment. It's awesome.
It really is.
Scotland, as well as especially Irish whiskeys as well. Just everybody's making new whiskey.
Yeah.
Speaking of whiskey, so I did promise you before we started that we would jump right into this, because I'm dying for a drink. It's Friday night, and I have yet to have anything. So
Ooh, that was a good cork pop. Sound that good.
Yeah. So this is the Float Like a Butterfly, Sting Like a Bee.
Yes.
And if anybody's curious, I found myself being a little curious. So I was Googling around for this earlier. If you Google 80.13 with SWMS, you can learn a lot more about this than or you could obviously just listen. But if you're ever curious off stream or something. So Float Like a Butterfly, Sting Like a Bee is a 12-year-old Speyside.
Correct.
And I'll actually leave it if you'd like to talk a little bit more about what we're about to get in here.
Yeah, I'd love to. So I'll just kind of give a quick, brief, introduction to what it is we're drinking tonight. So yes, this is cask number 80.13. Float Like a Butterfly, Sting Like a Bee is the name that our tasting panel has given this whiskey. And it is a 12-year Speyside from a refill ex-bourbon hogshead. This comes in at 60.8% ABV. So all of our whiskeys are single cask strength. It is from barrel to bottle, and none of that fussy water stuff gets added in.
Obviously, not chill filtered, non-chill filtered. Nothing to it. Love it.
It is literally, you pop the bung and you pour it in the bottle.
Fantastic. Well, Jenna, thanks for joining. Cheers to you, and happy Friday. So, for anybody in the chat, if you guys have had anything from Single Malt Whisky Society, shouldn't try to talk the second I drink cask strength whiskey, but whatever. If you guys have had any of these bottles before, put it in the chat which ones you've had. I'm just curious to see the names. Honestly, I was scrolling through a lot of the names just because they're unique and kind of hilarious. Some of them. There was one. It was something about a bung, like a freshly bung or something like that.
Warm bung.
Yes, that's right. Happiness is a warm bung. Yeah, that set the stage. That was one of the first I saw when I was scrolling. I was just like, fantastic.
Yeah. So kind of how it works is, I'll kind of break it down. So the Scotch Malt Whisky Society was started back in 1983. So it's been around for quite some time. And it was a gentleman by the name of Pip Hills. And, during the 80s, it was just the big blends, it was, and, blends have been the backbone of this industry for a long time. So I have lots of blends that I enjoy myself, but he just wanted something different. And so he ventured out to a Speyside distillery and was like, hey, I want to buy a cask from you. Like, who did that? In the 80s, like, you just stroll in and say, hey, can I buy a cask? Like, I wish I could do that right now. And they,
I know, right?
Like,
yeah.
Are you crazy, lady? Like, no. So Mr. Hills just, strolled in and bought a cask, and he put it in his little convertible and he drove it home and he shared it with his friends. And it just blossomed. It was, all of these friends who love whiskey, who kind of shared in the same, love of the spirit. And it just, the whiskey was so amazing. His friends were like, all right, go get another one, go get another one. And that friend group just got bigger and bigger and bigger.
Yeah. I'm wondering why.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Hey, did you guys hear this guy?
Yeah, I would want to be in that friend group. It's just going and, buying cask of whiskey. But, there was such a love and a desire for more single cask whiskeys. And so he started the Scotch Malt Whisky Society. And, we've been doing it for almost 40 years. And I think we've bottled from over 140 different distilleries around the world.
Yikes.
Yeah.
That's so pretty cool.
It's very cool.
You say around the world. I was under the impression, it's Scotch Malt Whisky Society. Is it not just Scotch that you're bottling?
It's not. So we have bottled whiskeys from Japan. We have bottled American whiskeys. We have bottled, I'm trying to think if there's anything else. I'm waiting. I really want an Australian whiskey. I want a single cask Australian whiskey. So I'm waiting patiently for that. Hopefully that's in the, on the agenda. But so we bottle whiskeys from, everywhere. We have English whiskeys. We have Irish whiskeys. I don't think we've done a Canadian one yet.
That's all right.
So we do get outside of Scotland, but the theme, across the board is that everything is single cask and cask strength. Every once in a while, we will put out a blended whiskey, just for fun. And so we've done a few of those. The last one that we did was called Big Swirl. So I don't know if anyone out there has tasted Big Swirl yet, but that was the last one that we did. And then we'll have a new one coming out in a few weeks. So And on top of the single cask whiskeys that we do, we also do other single cask spirits. So we do rum, Armagnac, cognac. So if you're into, any of those other beautiful spirits, we have those as well.
A lot of people seem to like Armagnac. I've only tried a couple of them, and I didn't really like it very much.
I have a here that I tasted, and I don't know. I really was into it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure I didn't like, bourbon or Scotch the very first time I tried it either. And it was the very first time I tried Armagnac, and my buddy was like all about it. We were at a bar in New York, and he was like, "Hey, you ever tried this?" And I'm like, "No, but yes, give me, pour me one." And I ended up giving it to him. I was just like, I don't even like this. Yeah. But I think I need to try another one.
Just keep at it. I mean, I was the same way when I got into whiskey, and I had a peated whiskey for the first time, and I was like, I can't drink this. This is terrible. And now it's like,
that's actually probably a good analogy, is a peated whiskey versus something like that. It's just a very strong taste.
Yeah, very flavor.
So I did see somebody, I think it was Eric Evanson, was asking a couple minutes ago how to actually sign up and where to go and what to do. So
there's a few ways you can actually do it. So you can go to our website, which is smwsa.com, and you can sign up there. And there are a few different kind of packages as far as signing up to become a member. Or you can give us a call on the phone. And myself or my colleague, Zach or Ben or Brianna, will answer the phone, and we're more than happy to help you over the phone. But to become a member, it's a $99 membership fee, and that's good for the whole year. And then it's $70 to renew every year after that. And there are a few kind of package deals that we've kind of done some special pricing on. And so you can do just the membership, which is, again, $99. And what that does is that gives you access to all of our libraries of whiskeys. It gives you Unfiltered magazine, which looks like this. And this is quarterly. And this is just jam-packed, just full of all kinds of cool information and educational pieces. And you can see kind of from our chapters from all over the world, because I think we're in 22 different countries at the moment. And so you can sign up to become a member that way, or you can do a membership bundle. So what that looks like is, like, the one that we're drinking tonight is actually part of our new member bundle. So only new members have access to get this bottle. And so for this membership bundle is $150, and that gives you the bottle and your membership as well for a year.
So you're basically getting a bottle of whiskey for $50 plus your membership. So that's pretty good. Yeah.
And so we have a few different tiered packages that you can choose from. Or there's also a tasting kit package where you get 3 different 100 milliliter bottles and like a journal and a little Pel pen, as well as the Unfiltered magazine and all of the other stuff that comes with being a member.
Cool.
So, yeah.
Just for anybody who's looking, I just put the link into the description. So, I mean, you don't need to refresh, but it'll be there when you check. And thank you, Steve, for posting it in the chat as well.
Yeah. And if anyone here becomes a member from the stream, make sure that you put Bill's name in the notes so we can give him some credit for sending him along. So we have a great referral program that way. Anyone that you refer over to the society, we send a $25 gift card to your email, and you can use it. They never expire, so you can build them up and use them that way. So
nice.
Yeah.
And actually, you bring up it's a decent segue into something like this. This is not a sponsored video or anything like this, other than the free bottle. So just in case anybody's wondering, I just more thought, I had always heard of the Scotch Malt Whisky Society, and I saw the bottles on shelves in liquor stores and everything, and I always kind of was like, what is that? And I hadn't actually done my homework on what it was until you reached out to me, actually, Jenna.
Right.
And then I started looking into it. And so it seemed like an interesting thing that I wanted you guys to at least know existed. And so that's why we're doing this stream. That, and Jenna has a wonderful personality. We've talked about it.
Well, what's cool too about, to give you some more information about the society, actually our bottles are not available in any retail space. So the only way that you're able to get these bottles is if you are a member and order them through our website or on the phone with us. Or if you go over to London, Edinburgh, or Glasgow, we have tasting rooms where you can go and actually purchase whiskeys there and, taste until your heart's desire.
That's interesting.
Single cask whiskeys.
I almost wonder because it was a specific liquor store in Massachusetts that had
interesting.
it had like 5 or 6 of them on the shelf, and I almost wonder their owner must just be a member and maybe bought them thinking he could turn them over. You know?
Interesting.
Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, we're not in any retail space at all. You know, it's strictly a members club, so that's the way to get them.
Just for your, if you happen to get any signups and people say the Dick sent me, I still want that to count. Yes, please. So, and I would very much encourage everybody to do that. So,
I will make sure that those go to you.
Awesome. So, is there anything else that you can really tell me about this whiskey? So one of the things I mentioned to you is that I was tasting some mint in here, pretty heavily for me, but more so it's almost like you ever have like breath mints that are so strong that when you breathe in and out, it's almost like cold.
Yeah,
you know?
like menthol.
Yeah, like menthol. Exactly. Yeah, that's kind of what I'm getting in this, and it's not a taste I think I've really had this strong in any other whiskey I've tried.
Right.
So I don't know.
So on our bottles, when you get a bottle, and I'll try to put this up to the camera so you guys can see it.
Mm-hmm.
So our tasting panel over in Scotland is consisted of a bunch of industry experts. And what they do is, we have over, I think, 10,000 casks maturing in our warehouse right outside of Glasgow at the moment. Mm-hmm. And so we have this tasting panel that goes out to source all of these really amazing single casks, and they bring them back to our warehouse right outside of Glasgow. And then we have a team, a tasting panel that will blindly nose a bunch of samples. And if it doesn't pass the nose test, it goes back to mature. Mm-hmm. If it passed the nose test, then it goes to the taste test. And so it has to pass the nose and the taste test completely blind before they say, you know what, this is good enough to be bottled. And so once they decide which ones are going to be bottled, they all sit down, and I'm so jealous because this is really the job I want.
Right. Yeah. No, you're working your way up there, I'm sure.
Yeah. To have that tasting panel and come up with these fun names. They taste through the whiskeys and they give them really just fun and cheeky tasting notes, mm-hmm. and give it a fun name. So this one, for example, the tasting notes on this one are indulgent and luscious aromas were followed by notes of extra strong mint lozenges diluted like a butterfly fluttering by in a sun-warmed breeze. So they're just like really fun and cheeky, flavor notes because, whiskey's subjective. Mm-hmm. At the end of the day, you and I could sit down and taste this whiskey and I'll be like, well, I'm getting creme brulee and berries and, it smells like my grandma's house. I don't know. And you'll get something very different. So we just try our main, focus here is on flavor. Mm-hmm. So we don't want you to get it caught up on where it comes from or how old it is or, what kind of cask. Like those things are obviously important, but we really just want you to focus on the flavor because the thing with a single cask is that no two are ever alike. Once it's gone forever. And they're just little snapshots in whiskey time. And so they're just little surprises. You don't know what you're going to get. And that's the beauty. So we just want to focus on the actual flavor of the whiskey. And then all of those other little details can come after.
Nice.
Yeah.
So there's this thing I'm doing on my channel this year. I'm calling it the 2020 Whiskey Challenge, which is essentially, trying to try as many different types of whiskeys as you possibly can across the whole world. Yeah. But it's like you wouldn't have, like let's say a Glenlivet 18 mm-hmm. and I don't know, whatever. Like you can have like one Speyside, you can have one Highland, you can have one, Campbelltown. You couldn't have a couple of, Islas or something like that. At least not to count for this particular thing. The idea is to try different things that you wouldn't normally have. Like Australian whiskey, for example. And one thing I like about this, although it'd be pretty easy to have a Speyside, this is something unique that if you have a ton of Speysides and you're like, oh, well, I've had everything that I could get my hands on. This is something that you have never tried and would be easy enough to fill out that piece. So, so people are saying, is there a rebuy option, or do you find that these things tend to sell out pretty quickly? Like, yeah.
Keep in mind that, when you go to like Total Wine or I don't know what you guys have on the East Coast, mm-hmm. what kind of
Total Wine.
Yeah. Okay. So let's say you go into Total Wine and you pick up a limited edition bottle, right? Well, that limited edition bottle is going to be what, 10,000 bottles for the whole world or mm-hmm. 8,000 bottles for the whole world, or, it could be obviously smaller than that. But mm-hmm. the thing with the single cask is that you're only getting about 200 bottles.
Right.
And that's it.
Yeah.
Obviously if it's a sherry butt or, a port pipe, you're getting a little bit more, closer in like the 500 range or low 500s. But, a hogshead's only giving you on average like 220 bottles.
Mhm.
And that's for the whole world, So you're getting whiskeys, allocated here to the States that our numbers are a little bit smaller, but we are working really hard to kind of beef up our supply because, we've had such an incredible member demand for these whiskeys. And so a lot of whiskeys don't stick around long enough to come back and buy them.
Mm-hmm. Makes sense.
So
yeah, you'd have to be pretty quick. So speaking of pretty quick, Steve will be upset with me if I don't ask you.
Yeah.
So when these things go on, well, actually, why don't you talk a little bit about the outturn concept, and then we can go into Steve's question.
Yeah. So how it works is every month we release a batch of new cask. So this month was actually our biggest outturn that we've had ever, where we released 20 different whiskeys, and that was back on May 5th.
Mm-hmm.
And so how it works is we send out an email that has our full outturn of what it is we're releasing, and then our whiskeys go live on the website at 1:00 Eastern time. And then it's, first come, first serve of people, to either call us on the phone and order or to do it on our website. And so the outturn is, before it was roughly around maybe 12 to 14 different whiskeys. And so we're getting up into the 20 plus cask that we're releasing. And so we do that every month. This month is a little different because it's festival month. So even though all the festivals in Scotland have been canceled, Speyside's been canceled, Fagil's been canceled, we're still going to be releasing all of our bottles for those festivals. And so starting next week on Tuesday, we're going to be releasing our Speyside Festival bottles. And on Thursday, we'll be releasing our Highland Festival bottles. And so you will get anyone who is on our mailing list. So even if you don't become a member, you can sign up to be on our mailing list. And we'll send out an email to everyone, letting everyone know, what's coming out and at what time.
Mm-hmm.
And we do that every month. So every month we have an outturn.
Okay. That's a lot of bottles. Yeah, that's crazy. Now, so you were talking a little while ago about the 10,000 bottles in your warehouse, and it made me wonder, have you ever, have any of the barrels ever been not missing, but like forgotten about? Like, have you guys ever accidentally just way over matured something?
I'm sure they have.
Yeah.
I'm sure, every distillery has those casks that kind of get forgotten.
Mm-hmm.
But I haven't been there to personally seek them out or taste them. Not yet. So hopefully when this is all said and done, I can get out there and do some snooping around.
Nice. Yeah, that sounds like a really cool place to go visit. I bet it smells amazing in there.
I'm sure.
So, I'm trying to think. There was so Steve's question. So about the outturn. So every month you guys put out these new bottles, and people can go in, they can buy them. Now, obviously some of them are going to go out quicker.
Yes.
First off, is there a specific time that these things go live?
Yeah. So this past month and the past few months, actually, with this pandemic happening, it's like hand sanitizer. There's just a huge demand for whiskey, and that's industry wide. It's not just us. It is industry wide. I mean, we have some friends who have like a cocktail delivery service, and they've seen like a 16,000% increase or something just totally mind blowing, outrageous in their business, just because everyone's home and going a little stir crazy. So everyone's
they're drinking.
Exactly. And so, to have whiskey sent to your home without having to leave your home is a huge plus. So we've had a very big increase, in demand and just the hype of our whiskeys. We've been getting in some really amazing cask and finishes that you don't see all the time from distilleries that, don't release single cask whiskeys. So it's kind of like the perfect storm of, hype and, pandemic and, demand all kind of working together. And that's why we've seen such a large increase in our whiskeys. So whiskeys have been selling out, pretty quickly, but we are working very hard. And I mean, very hard to beef those outturns up. So we have more whiskey for people to choose from.
Oh, you're doing the Lord's work, as they say. So actually that brings up another thing. So I noticed obviously you guys have a YouTube channel, and you guys can see the Scotch Malt Whisky Society of America is the name of the channel, which, it's a good name, but it's a little long. So, but it's easy enough to find, and there's a link in the description as well. You guys are doing some live streams. It looked like starting on the 19th. Is that when you're going to, or maybe the 17th?
So
I could be wrong.
we've been coming together on Fridays, just as a casual kind of Q&A where people can come and ask questions and, just field any, questions that they may have about the society or whiskey in general. And so we've been doing those every Friday. And then next week, we'll be having live streams before our festival bottle releases. So we'll have one at 12 noon Eastern time. I got to remember everything's on Eastern time.
The only time that matters.
No. So 12 noon Eastern time on Tuesday and Thursday of next week and the week after. And we'll be giving a sneak peek of what our festival bottles are going to be.
Nice. Now, do you think that you'll put out more than 20 bottles for the festival as well? Do you see yourself ramping up more?
Yeah, it won't be that. I mean, maybe collectively we might have around, no, maybe not. A little less, but it's not going to be as big as our normal monthly outturns. So this one will be just a little bit smaller, but I know we have some really delicious.
It's still a ridiculous amount of unique variety of whiskey per month. So don't be upset. It's not 20. That's a lot, no matter what it is. 10 is a lot. So.
The thing that I think I've loved, because I was a member of the society before I worked for them, and I've learned so much from not only working for this company, but, just being a member. And that's what I love. I have members who call me all the time, and, we'll have 35-minute conversations just about whiskey. People come with questions, and I can sit and we can talk about it, we can share knowledge and information, and it's so awesome. And, I've taught my palate a lot through these whiskeys, because I'm getting whiskeys, we put out whiskeys that you are not going to find anywhere else. A lot of the whiskeys, a lot of these big blending houses don't put out single cask whiskeys. So you'll never get to taste that true DNA of these distilleries, because everything goes into blends. But, we've been around for so long, and our team has created these really great relationships with these distilleries that they let us, come in like Pip Hills did back in the 80s and be able to buy cask from them to release to our members. So it's been really awesome.
Nice. Now, this is something I thought about earlier this week. Yeah. Are some of the barrels that you're getting, are they like experimentations from the distilleries that maybe they were just trying something and then you guys end up with the barrel? Is that I don't know how our spirits director over there kind of handles that. Maybe he does go in and say, "So, what have you been up to? Yeah.
What kind of weird stuff do you have for me?" But I know it goes through a very tough, process of closing and tasting. It has to pass all these tests before they say, "You know what, this is amazing, and we need to share this with people," before it goes to be bottled. So I don't know. That's a good question.
Yeah, there was a distillery I visited in San Diego called San Diego Distillery, and the guy, he works with all the craft beer makers in the area to just kind of turn their craft beers into whiskeys. And he was telling me some of the weird stuff he's doing in his barrels, and I'm just like, "Are you out of your mind?" And then, he'd let me try some. I'm like, "You are certainly not out of your mind. This is amazing." So, some of these guys are really just doing weird stuff, but it never gets released. So it kind of made me think that this would be a perfect example of when something like that could be sold. So,
but I love that. I love that, people are trying to just think out of the box all the time. Everything doesn't have to be an ex-bourbon. Everything doesn't have to come from a sherry cask. There are so many different finishes that really bring a whiskey to life. So it's been fun to one of the other new member bundle bottles we have is actually a 19-year Speyside that was in an ex-bourbon hogshead, and then it was transferred into a first fill ex-Moscatel hogshead, so Portuguese wine.
Okay.
And it is I've never had anything like this. I'm like,
what's the name of that one?
This is called Fruity, Earthy, and Exciting.
Okay.
And we just actually launched new packaging on our bottles. They were just released this week. So this is the first round of bottles that have our new packaging on it. I can show you what the old one looked like. So this was what it looked like.
Let me, hold on.
It's the old one.
Yeah. Okay.
Old one.
Yeah.
And then this is our new one.
Okay.
So, and one of the cool features on our new labels is that we are putting both casks. So if it's a whiskey that was finished, both casks are listed on the label. So
okay. Yeah, I like that you guys are transparent. I mean, that always goes a long way with this community here.
Yes.
So Donald Rance had a question for you. Are you guys, do you have any plans to do any more SMWS Cooley bottlings in the future?
That's a good question. We do a few Irish, bottlings, but I don't know if we'll have any Cooley or Teeling, anytime soon. So I'm not sure. I hope so.
Nice. People are wondering how much it costs to ship to the US, roughly. I get that it's going to vary.
So it depends. So let's say if you're in the Pacific Northeast and like New York and all that, I think it's about $20 a bottle to ship. If I can remember off the top of my head.
Actually, really not bad.
It's not. And everything's done through FedEx. So we ship, the right way. And we don't do it, but we arrange to have it sent out to you. And so for California, I'm out here. So I think it's maybe a $5 or $7 difference to have it shipped out to California. And one of the great things that we do is that if you ever want to build up an order, because if you add more bottles, the shipping makes more sense because the difference isn't that big when you're adding more bottles.
Right.
So if you ever want to, grab a bottle and build an order, we can hold it for you until, let's say, you have 3 or 4 bottles, and then we can arrange to have it all shipped out.
That's cool. I like that you guys are a small enough company that you're actually able to do things like that for people. Like actually give some, I realize this sounds totally like I'm just selling you guys to be, but like just working in the business world, like small companies are where so much more good gets done than larger company, and it's nice to see personal attention and the fact that you guys will hold a bottle or two for somebody to build up more to buy so that they can save on shipping. Like you don't get that at a huge company. No.
And we're happy to do it. And, we are a global brand and we have chapters all around, the world, but here in the States, we're a really small team. There's really technically like 5 of us that cover the whole country. and that's like, our whole team, and our whole team is amazing. And we really do try to make this, an amazing personalized experience for every single member.
Well, you've certainly been nice to me.
Yeah. It's important. I think it's important. Whiskey is meant to be shared and meant to be enjoyed, with friends and loved ones and colleagues and, fellow enthusiasts. And we really try to, just baby that because that human connection is so important.
Have you, just speaking of sharing whiskey, have you heard about what goes on at La Quinta with the Bastards Ball every year for the Whiskey Vault?
No.
Just out of curiosity. So you're familiar with the Whiskey Vault YouTube channel, obviously, right? So they do a thing every year, only for the last, actually, it's only been 2 years so far, but this will be the 3rd year, where they have YouTubers out there as well as somewhere in the range of about 500 people that you can fly out to Austin and you can come to their distillery and they have this big festival. And it's actually a really fun time. They have a bunch of Texas whiskeys out there who, it's like a typical tasting, kind of like massive tasting. However, the real party is at the hotel where all of us stay. Because there's, a couple hundred people probably stay there, and everybody just brings bottles of whiskey, and we take over the hotel lobby. Now, the reason I'm bringing this up is I believe Steve A brought a bottle of, your guys' stuff last time, and somebody mentioned the name of it. It was like Texas, not Texas. Steve, put the name of it if you remember, and shared it around.
It was a Texas whiskey.
Was it a Texas whiskey? I think it had the word Texas in the name. I was just trying to think about. I saw it in the chat go by. I could be totally wrong. It'll show up in a sec.
Okay.
But, hold on. We'll release you. Happiness in the potting shed. I don't know why that made me think Texas. Happiness in the potting shed.
I have that somewhere right there.
Nice. Yeah. Like, to be fair, you have a lot of bottles back there. There's a pretty good chance. Did you end up getting that Xenomorph versus Velociraptor?
I tasted it.
Okay.
But I don't have a bottle myself. Okay. Yeah. We really, everything goes to members first. And then if something hangs around for long enough, then, we can, go in and buy things for ourselves. But, our members get first dibs on everything.
Makes sense.
Even before us. So
I know we started touching on it. I don't remember. Did did we actually end up covering Steve's question? Like, how can you try to get in there and get these the bottles that you really want?
So what I would recommend, and this is what we recommend to everyone, is on the day of the outturn, before, I'm always looking at my calendar, sorry.
That's okay.
To make sure my dates are right. There's so much going on. I want to make sure I get the dates right.
Absolutely.
Before the outturn, just make sure that you are logged into your account on smwsa.com. Make sure your shipping, address, everything in there is right and good to go. And then, the minute the outturn is released, it goes live at 1:00 Eastern time, and then it's go time, and you just got to add to your cart and be a little quick. Or the other thing that you can do is you can call us on the phone. Again, we're a small team, so we get a lot of phone calls that day. So if we aren't able to get to you, we'll eventually get to call you back at some point in the day. But just make sure that you're, logged into your account, your internet connection is strong, you don't have any other distractions, and, you're just ready to rock.
Mm-hmm. So you can probably see Steve's question there. With you guys, with the society having problems keeping up with current demand, how do you justify an active attempt to get more members?
Right. So, at the end of the day, we're learning as we grow too. We are a small company, and like I said, we're a small group of people. And so this kind of, hype that's going on in the industry is, again, it's industry wide. It's not just us. And so, I keep referring to the hand sanitizer thing. And just because, when this all happened, it was like, you couldn't get hand sanitizer anywhere.
Right.
So I guess it's kind of the same thing, just with the amount of people who are home and having, whiskey sent to their homes and not having to leave. And this is a good time for them to really get into their whiskey journeys and exploration. We've just had a large demand, for our whiskeys. And so we are working. And when I say we are really working hard, we are working so hard to get these outturn, beefed up. So we have more whiskey to go around, and we have more cask to offer to our members.
Okay, that makes sense. And I know you said you have a lot of barrels, obviously aging, and not all of them are ready. But it sounds like you probably have at least several months planned ahead of time. Like, you guys know what you're going to be releasing in September, October, I'm sure, at this point.
Yeah, so, and the thing is even though we have all these casks, maturing in our warehouse, we don't rush anything. So if we have, let's say, 9,000 of those casks aren't ready, we're not going to just rush to release them just to get whiskey out. We want the whiskey to be exceptional. That's part of, this club, is that you're having access to these exceptional whiskeys. And so we're not going to rush these things, just to say we can get whiskey, on a shelf, so to speak. We're really focused on the actual quality of the spirit. So we are working very hard to get more here in the States.
Have you found that there's any, I guess, kind of to elaborate on this?
Yeah.
Are you aware of any issues trying to get new barrels right now? You mentioned hand sanitizer, but let's take it a little bit to the side here. A lot of the distilleries are making hand sanitizer right now.
Right.
So, I don't know how much they're really making whiskey. I'm sure a lot of them have this stuff already pre-aging, but this is a multi-part question. When you guys get barrels, do you tend to age it for a good amount of time yourself? Like, do you tend to get it fairly new in the barrel from somebody with the promise of this is probably going to be good? Going into that whole thing. Yeah.
That depends.
Yeah.
We'll be buying new make spirit to put in our own cask to put in the warehouse, or we'll be buying spirit that's, let's say, aged 2, 5, 10, 20 years to take to the warehouse. And so it's really a diverse, group of spirit that we're bringing, into our warehouse to age.
Mm-hmm. So, Steve, you can let Savage post it. It's not a big deal. That wasn't terrible. It seems like he's probably just a little drunk. Anyway, so
yeah, and I just wanted to comment. I did see a question about us doing U.S. exclusive releases, and we do. Every year we try and put out a U.S. exclusive that is only for members in the U.S.
Nice.
And the last one that we had, actually, our colleague Ben was the one who named it and went to help pick that cask, and it was Distillery 93. Is just amazing. So those are usually very spot on. Like, if you can get those, I highly recommend it. The past few years that I've been able to have are pretty stellar.
Now, I imagine as an ambassador, is that what you would refer to yourself as, an ambassador?
Yeah, it's hard because
Yeah.
we look at it as we get to represent the industry as a whole.
That's kind of what,
we're not representing one distillery or one product or having to, kind of follow one script. We don't have to do that. And that's the beauty about, working for, a company like this, is that I get to learn about all whiskey. Any whiskey, anything that has to do with whiskey, like I can still just fully immerse myself in the world of whiskey, and it doesn't have to be dialed into any one direction. And so that's the nice thing, is that, when we get members on the phone or we're hosting live events or tastings, I can take all of that knowledge that I've been able to learn from industry wide and share that. And so I don't know if ambassador is the word, but yeah, I'm just, I kind of like to look at it as like whiskey education. So,
you're an ambassador of whiskey, not necessarily. Yeah. Now, most of the ambassadors I know, they're specific to a distillery. That's why I was a little like, obviously you span most of these things. But the reason I ask is so obviously you need to taste most of these things in order to give your, proper approval of any of these bottles. So I imagine that you have a bit of a ritual or a repertoire of how you can. I mean, that's a lot of whiskey to go through one way or another. Yeah. And I mean, I can kind of relate, doing a video every week on a different whiskey is, you taste a lot of stuff. Seems like a unique challenge that you might actually have. Is there any method to that?
Yeah. When I'm like drinking whiskey at home, or, I kind of break it out into two different ways. So when I'm tasting a whiskey for the first time, I kind of have a little ritual that I follow. I wait until the end of the night where the house is quiet and I'm not distracted by anything. And I always make sure I use, some kind of snifter or tulip shaped glass. I like sit at my dining room table because for some reason that's like my favorite place to taste whiskey for the first time. I don't know. I put on like Sidney Bechet, my jazz music, my old jazz, and like I sit and I have my moment, and I make sure that I haven't eaten for at least the last 2 hours. I make sure my palate is pretty neutral, and I sit with my water and my whiskey and my glass and my notebook, and I take my time. I really just take my time on both the nose and the palate. I'll add water after I've tasted it a few times neat, and I just kind of get into it and I dig in. And if I'm tasting just casually, like at home, if I just long day, I just want to sit on my couch in my pajamas and like eat pizza and have a dram, I'll use a different glass. I love the Canadian Glencairn. That's probably one of my favorite. I do.
That's funny. Yeah.
Just for like casual.
Yeah, no, I get it, because you can fit some ice in there. That makes sense. Yeah.
It's just I like, it's weighty. It's sometimes these can be like dainty. And I get it, but they do make a difference when it comes to nosing and tasting whiskey. But when I'm at home, it's pretty casual. There's no rhyme. There's like a movie on, and again, pizza in one hand, dram in the other. I don't know.
I love it. Yeah, there's not too many like Speysides that could hold up to a good piece of pizza though. Like you're gonna, I don't know. Especially, well, unless you're having like cheese or some sort of veggie pizza. I don't know about you, but you're from California, right? I'm pretty sure, right?
Yeah.
So you guys have like those veggie pizzas over there. I don't know.
I had pizza before this, and it was the only veggie that was on it was a jalapeno.
Here I am making fun. I had stir fry for dinner. It's very, very backwards to what I'm making fun of you about.
Later, I'll have some chocolate cake with the dram, and I'll be a happy camper.
Nice. I gotta say, I'm tearing through this bottle. When I had this last night, my so on my Patreon, I do this like first tasting thing, and I just kind of record kind of like a casual, like I just popped the bottle, trying the first sip, and when I had this last night, that mintiness was just very overpowering for me.
Yeah.
And a couple drinks in, it's there for sure. It's still one of the more prevalent things for me, but it's not as overbearing. And I'm finding this to be much easier to sip on and just kind of drink right now. So, I mean, that happens with a couple drinks in too, but it's, I'm finding that I'm going through this dangerously fast here. Like,
well, and you would think, this is at 60.8% ABV. That's not, a casual Sunday. Oh, I guess it could be for me. It is.
I was gonna say that's my casual Friday night on the live streams.
So, but the beautiful thing again about a single cask is that you just don't know what you're gonna get. That's the beauty of it. Like these, I have one over here that's a 66%, and I think it's a young 7-year Speyside, and it is just so vibrant, but it does not drink like it is 66% at all. I mean, it's more like the 50 range. It is just smooth and velvet, and it is so easy. So, it's so easy to have like preconceived notions about what it is that something inside of a bottle is going to taste like. And we really try to take that away. And that's why we don't put distillery names on the bottle. And, we just want you to go in and focus on the flavor. So
I think that honestly, I know you guys have been doing this. What 2016 was when this? You started in 83, I believe.
Yeah,
because I remember, like, I was born in 83, so I kind of I was like, oh, that's perfect. But there was something on the website about 2016. Maybe it was.
We used to be owned by the Glenmorangie Company.
Oh, that's right.
Glenmorangie Ardbeg, now Woodinville, I think. So that was up until 2015, and then we changed over in 2016. So, but we've been here in the States for a long time, and we have are we pushing 4,000 members here in the States, I think?
Nice.
It could be, but we have about 30,000 worldwide.
30,000. Wow.
Yeah.
So there was a
big deal.
What was that?
We're kind of a big deal.
You're kind of a big deal. You have many leather-bound books.
Yeah.
Yes. Smells of rich mahogany. So Donald Rance had a question for you earlier. In Canada, you can only get it's such a mouthful to say the whole name of the thing, but then saying SMWS, it doesn't roll off my tongue as easily as it does yours. But anyway, so you can only get bottles through retailers in British Columbia and Alberta. Are there plans to partner with the government monopolies in the rest of the country?
Here in the States,
in Canada. In Canada.
Oh, in Canada. So I know the LCBO is that kind of the big overseeing eye of the Canadian liquor world or spirits industry. Yeah, I'm not 100% familiar with kind of how all of that works up in Canada, but I do know. I think Kensington Wine Market. That's kind of ringing a bell. I think that is where you can go and purchase bottles, but don't quote me on that. I'm not 100% sure. Is there
just to follow up on that? Is there somebody that they could email or some way that they could contact you guys to actually get a solid answer on that?
Yeah. So I'll just if you have any question, if anyone has any questions about any of our chapters or anything, you can email me at Jenna. That's JENNA at smwsa.com, and I can forward you over to all the right people. So please feel free to reach out.
Nice. If I think about that, I'll put that in the description as well, but that's pretty easy to remember. Cool. That's great. I had another question. Somebody had a question here. Actually. So King Jack, he's one of my newer patrons. He's a good guy as well. He's one of the very few people who ever asked me to sign his Glencairn that I sent to him. And it was awful because he asked me to sign it. And I was like, well, I don't have a signature for my brand at all. Like I signed maybe like one or two things, and I just did cursive, like my name. I mean, my name is William. So I was like, well, the W I got down, that's fine. But then I was like, I'm going to come up with something cool. And I told him, I was like, give me a day. I'm going to practice. I'm going to come up with a bunch of ideas. And I was jotting them down on a piece of paper. And then later that night, I packed up his glass and I shipped it off to him. And I never signed it. so he sends me an email. He's like, hey, Bill, I hate to be a jerk, but like you forgot to sign it. So of course I had to send him another one, but either way. So King Jack is feeling the vibes here and thinking about signing up. So definitely would encourage you, King.
Yeah, we would absolutely love to have you. And again, if you have any questions, you can, email me at Jenna at SMWSA. You can visit our website, or you can, give us a call on the phone. So we're here to help. And again, when you call, like you're not getting a bot or, someone in like a call center, you're getting like me in my makeshift office and my colleagues in their makeshift offices, whether that's their kitchens or, whatever the case is, you're getting a real person who, genuinely believes and loves what it is that we're doing. So
remember that Jenna's on Pacific time frame. So call at about 5 a.m. Eastern.
No. I'll let my East Coast people answer those calls.
So actually, you have a unique a unique perspective on this, and I don't talk to. I'm necessarily not going to say ambassador just because we already talked about that, but like, what is your day-to-day job? Like, do you travel when Corona's not a thing?
Yeah.
Like, are you traveling all the time?
There's a good amount of travel involved, just because, again, there's really only like 3 of us who span out over the whole country. And it's me here in Los Angeles, and then we have a colleague in Chicago, and then we have a colleague in Orlando.
Okay.
So we're kind of, divided equally. And so I do travel a lot when, we're not in the middle of a pandemic. And when I mean we, I mean myself and my colleagues, we are hosting live in-person tastings all the time. And so we, visit private clubs. So if you're a private whiskey club and you want to put on a tasting, we would love to do that. So feel free to email us about that. And, in the era of Zoom that we're in, we're also happy to jump on and do a Zoom call if that's something that you would want to do. And so, yeah, we do travel a lot. A lot of it is research. A lot of it is, interacting with our members. So taking phone calls and answering emails, and, education is huge for us. And so we actually have a blog on our website at smwsa.com where we post a lot of educational pieces. And so it's, membership, education, travel. It's a little bit of everything, and every day is different. So it's kind of hard to stick to like a regimented schedule, just because the world of whiskey is.
I kind of like that though, because it's not as, I mean, like you said, it's not regimented, but I imagine to some degree you're pretty autonomous. You can do what's right for the company, but like you can kind of figure it out, and I like that. Like that's similar to some parts of my job where it's like you just do what is the right thing, and you do whatever it takes. Yeah, I like that.
And that's the great thing, is that as a team we can come together and take ideas that members have given us, or, ideas that maybe one of our teammates has, and kind of figure out how we can, turn that into a really amazing experience for our members. So it's pretty awesome.
That is very cool. I like this. So I was reading through some of the blog stuff that you were talking about as well. And there was some good stuff up there for sure. It's interesting. The membership comes with some neat stuff. It's not just the whiskey. So I like that. Yeah. $99 is annually correct. If so, when you re-sign up a year later, do you qualify for the new member exclusive bottle?
So that's really up to you. So if you're within your window of renewing, if you want to purchase a new membership, you are more than welcome to do that. Otherwise, it's just a $70 renewal fee. So
I think what they're saying is that you had specific bottles that were only for new members. Are those available to somebody who's essentially re-upping their membership?
Yeah, if it comes time, if it's the time to renew your membership, you're more than welcome to do it that way. Or you can just do the $70 renewal, but that doesn't obviously come with the bottle. Okay.
Yeah, I think that's kind of what he was getting at.
Okay.
Is like if you already were a member, can you have access to the bottles that only the newest members?
Not currently. We've tried to, set these aside for new members, just to, ensure that they're there for people who want to come on board. And but we have lots of yummy, amazing stuff coming out. So our festival releases coming out in the next 2 weeks are going to be.
Yeah. Now, one thing that I personally probably would have had a little bit of a problem with when choosing a whiskey, like if I went on your site and I was like, this. Let's even say it was like a lighter month. Let's say there's 10 of them, and I'm reading through all of these different whiskeys, and I'm trying to pick one. I learn a little bit about it by the descriptions, and maybe like I would find it hard not to just pick whichever one had the coolest name.
Some people do that.
But, yeah, and I suppose that's it. Oh, hey, Scotch Test Dummies are on here. I know that they've I don't know if they've worked with you specifically, but I know.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. All right. I know that they've covered the Scotch Malt Whisky Society before.
Yeah. So I was on their stream back in like 2016, 2017?
Yeah, it was a while ago. Yeah.
A long time ago. Yeah, they're amazing guys, and they're, very loyal members of the society. So we love those guys over there.
Yeah, Scott and Bart are awesome guys.
They are.
So, yeah, as goofy in person as they are on their stream as well. So awesome. Well, we're coming up on the hour. Obviously we've talked about the society quite a bit. There are links in the description. Are there any kind of like upcoming live streams that you might want to plug? Do you want to plug your channel? Like,
so again, just to kind of reiterate, if anybody has any questions at all, please feel free to give us a call. I can tell you our number if you want to list it. You can do that, but or you can reach out to me at jenna@smwsa.com. You can also find me. I handle the Instagram account for SMWS America, or you can find me at Whiskey A Go Girl. That's where this all kind of started. But our next kind of big live streams are going to be next Tuesday and next Thursday of next week and the following week. And so we'll be doing our festival release kind of sneak peek before the bottles go live at 1 o'clock. So those will be at 12 noon Eastern time on Tuesday and Thursday.
Awesome. Excuse me. Well, thank you, Jenna, very much for being on the stream. And I had a great time drinking and chatting with you. And thank you, everybody in the chat. If you guys are interested, I definitely suggest this. This is one of the most unique whiskeys I've ever tried. And I have to assume that they're all exactly as awesome as this.
Yeah, there's some great stuff out there. So we'd be happy to, you know, steer you guys in the right direction. So don't hesitate to reach out at any time.
Oh, right in at the end, Andrew. I'm glad we were a little long-winded. Thank you very much, Andrew. So thank you, everybody, for joining us here on Friday night, and I look forward to seeing you guys next week. I'll be doing a Wheel of Doom or Death or whatever I've started calling it, Flights of the Round Table. So talk to you guys all, and thank you again, Jenna.
All right, bye.
Bye. All right, we are done.